The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Telly Olson. We are back. New York Yankee baseball, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko of the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. The co-hosts are Robert Deininger and Jack Degraw. Both are present and accounted for. Welcome, Jack Degraw.
Well, thanks, Ralph. How are you tonight?
I'm doing terrific, and Robert Deininger is here. How are you doing, Robert?
Not too bad. Better.
Good. You were down and out for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Your flu is gone?
Yeah, I'm feeling much better.
Back to work?
Yes. And active. Good. I have a way of getting to know new hosts on this network, and I know you're a fanatical Yankee fan. I want to know your first game, the first game you ever attended, and what player did you root for as a kid?
Well, the first game I went to was August 8th, 1964, and it was Old Timers Day, and the Orioles beat the Yankees 6-5, and I kept the ticket stub, and Johnny Blanchard hit a home run that game, and he signed the ticket stub maybe like 45 years later. And my favorite player growing up was Roger Maris.
Well, we have two people on this network. Gene, the Yankee-hating machine, is a big Roger Maris fan because Roger Maris came over to the Cardinals and helped them. Why were you a Roger Maris fan? I'm just curious, Jack.
Well, because he hit all the home runs, I started liking baseball when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And, in 61, they had the home run chase, and it just, fascinated me then. And I've always been a Roger Maris fan till this day.
Interesting that you mentioned 61 and you talked about Johnny Blanchard. That 61 team had 4 catchers who hit over 20 home runs. Now, they weren't all Blanchard, Berra, Howard, and maybe it was just 3 of them that hit over 20 home runs each.
Don't forget Elston.
And Elston Howard, of course. Elston played the bulk of the games. Blanchard was kind of a substitute, more or less. Yogi played a little bit, but he platooned with Hector Lopez in left field for the bulk of that 61 season. And ironically, that 2 weeks ago, I got to interview Ralph Terry from that team. Ralph Terry was 16-3 on what may be considered, arguably, the best Yankee team of our day. That was one terrific team. They stayed healthy. They had $1 million infield with Boyer and Kubek and Richardson and Pepitone. And like I said, all those terrific catchers coming off the bench. And Elston had an all-star year. It was good times in Yankeeville. Was it not?
No, it was great.
Is Elston Howard in the Hall of Fame?
He's not.
He should be. I watched the biography on him. If he wasn't on the Yankees, on any other team, the numbers he would have put up. And he was so well respected around the league. I can't believe he's not in the Hall of Fame.
If the Hall of Fame went for anything but pure numbers, which is to their downfall, Elston Howard would be there. And I'll tell you something else about Elston Howard. He died a broken-hearted man. He was never given the opportunity to manage the Yankees, and he deserved it. He was a gentleman. He was respected by everybody. Nobody had a bad thing to say about Ellie.
Did Yogi have him on his staff?
He might have when he managed the Yankees. There was a year when Mickey Mantle and Elston Howard would platoon as the first base coaches.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I believe that was 1971. When Yogi was the manager in '64, Elston was still catching.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And ironically, Elston Howard, a favorite player of Wayne Unger of Weighted Donuts on this show, he named the show Weighted Donuts after Ellie's invention of that, literally that weighted donut that players put on the bat so that they could swing a bat. It's a little heavier, take off the weighted donut. It's lighter. Players used to swing 2 or 3 bats at once on the on-deck circle. This alleviates that. That was invented by Elston Howard. And there's another thing to his career that's incredibly interesting. He left the Yankees and went to the hated Red Sox. In '87.
Didn't he blow out his elbow at that point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But if I remember correctly, they won the pennant with Elston Howard as a catcher, and that was kind of a juxtaposition. You'd look at a baseball card of Elston Howard in a Red Sox uniform. It's ridiculous. And as Robert said, he sat behind Yogi Berra for a long time. Yogi Berra was an incredible superstar. And he came along in '56. He was the first black ever called up by the Yankees. And he just fit in beautifully. He's a terrific guy. Robert, let's get to Robert and Jack. Let's get to the current Yankee season, preseason, pre-spring training. How about that?
Okay.
What do you like? What worries you about going into spring training? Let's start with you, Robert Deininger.
Well, they got a couple of young guys in the infield at second and third. I think they're going to be all right. Third, I'm a little worried about. But overall, and they got 5 outfielders. It'd be nice if they can move Ellsbury sometime soon.
Yeah, I wonder why. I think he's got a little bit left, and I wondered why the Mets didn't pick up on him before they signed Bruce, and when it looked like they were really, because Conforto is hurting, it looked like they were really struggling in the outfield. I think he has something left. What with 2 rookies in the infield as it's set up right now, why is it I'm asking you this because I'm a Mets fan and I would like the Mets to sign Todd Frazier.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why the Yankees don't just pick him up for a year and sign him. The market seems to be falling out of Boras's free agents, stable of free agents. So
I think the Yankees have about roughly $20 million left, and they're willing to spend up to $15 million to acquire or to bring in another player. And I can see them bringing in Frazier for maybe 1 more year. I mean, that's what I would like to see.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat as a Yankee because I think he can make the difference. I'd do it as a heartbeat for the Mets because I think it would enable them to move Cabrera to second, and I think defensively he'd be better than Flores, who seems to be the guy that they're going to go with if they don't sign Frazier. So we'll
the Yankees
see.
have right now Miguel Andujar. He came up. He had a couple games with the Yankees last year, but the biggest knock on him is his defense. And young guy at third base, it's iffy.
Yes.
Well,
what impresses you about what they have going, other than the obvious of an abundance of power and what with Sanchez and Judge and what have you?
Oh, what else?
No, I'm saying what else besides the power, the raw power of the Yankees impresses you?
Well, I'm anxious to see Sonny Gray. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm anxious to see Sonny Gray in a Yankee uniform for a entire season because I think he can pitch a lot better than what he showed last year.
I definitely agree with you, and I think it was one of the worst moves the A's made. They let go basically their top pitcher.
Yeah, and I think Jordan Montgomery is going to have a breakout year. I mean, that's my opinion. He looked pretty good he led the league among rookies in a lot of categories last year, Jordan Montgomery, and I think he's just going to continue to get better. I like their young pitcher.
The guy the Yankees gave up for Sonny Gray was Fowler, who had a very weird experience. He was hurt in the first game he ever played in Chicago.
Yeah, didn't get in a bat.
Didn't even get a bat. But because he was in a game, he is guaranteed for the rest of his life to be on the insurance, pension program insurance.
I really liked him too because he was their best hitter at AAA when he got called up.
Is he a power hitter at all?
No, he's kind of. I mean, he's got a little pop, but he's a guy that you could put at the top of the order. And before he hurt his knee, he was extremely quick. He could steal bases. He turned singles into doubles. I mean, they were really high on him. I think the only reason they traded him was because of the injury.
And so this may come back and help the A's, but
yeah.
I live in Northern California. They play about half a mile from where I live, and I've become an apologist. I do a show with Nancy Finley, who is the niece of Charlie O. Finley and the daughter of Carl Finley, who helped Charlie run the A's out here, and Jerry Feidelberg, who's been on the A's medical staff for a lot of years. So I've really become really attached to the team, and I would like, because they did trade Sonny Gray, for them to get something good out of it. Let's put it that way. And Fowler was a good defensive center fielder. Yeah,
he could play all three outfields, all three positions.
Okay.
Yeah,
did he come in one of those deals for Chapman or Miller, or was he brought up by the Yankees in their system?
He was drafted by the Yankees, and I mean, he hits for average. I mean, he's just one of those guys you like at the top of the order, and he does have a little pop to his bat.
Good. Let's go to Jack Degraw. Jack, what are you happy with? The prospects of the Yankees, and where are your doubts?
Well, like Robert mentioned, my concerns is that, the second and third, if they're going to start the two rookies. I mean, Gleyber Torres has only played 22 games at second base and maybe 20 games at third base. And you're going to have a guy like that, who is coming off Tommy John surgery on his non-throwing arm. And, you're going to have a guy like that start the season. That's kind of scary. And, Andujar has, he has defensive problems and stuff. I mean, a lot of these questions will be answered in spring training, but there are definite concerns going in.
Yeah, remember Tyler Wade last year in spring training? He tore it up, and he struggled during the season when he was called up. But like they said, that's not indicative of the kind of player he's going to be. So he could be a guy we should watch for too this spring training.
Well, I'm fortunate. I go to a lot of Tampa Yankee games, and I've seen all these kids when they played for Tampa. And Tyler Wade is an excellent fielder.
Oh, is he? They talk about him being a super utility player like Ben Zobrist of the Cubs.
Yeah.
Well, he could develop into that.
I want to tell you something. If you're a Tampa Bay apologist, you've got a good third baseman coming along in Arroyo, whom they got in the Longoria trade.
That kid's good?
Yeah, that kid's good. Yep.
At least we won't have to worry
unfortunately,
about
the kid with the real heart has been hurt for you for a couple of years now, Duffy. And that's a sad case. Hate to see ball players have their careers cut short by injuries, and it always seems that one injury gives way to another injury in sports. Yeah, you hurt your left knee, you're going to struggle with your right ankle, that kind of thing. And I hope the kid can escape it, Duffy. But if he doesn't, Arroyo's going to help you a little bit. And, you're obviously rebuilding. That's the way it goes. What do you think of the pitching, guys? I'll start with you this time, Jack.
Well, I think Sonny Gray is going to win 15-plus games. I like that kid. He's only 28. And I think, if David Cohn is like an announcer with the Yankees. I think if he talked to David Cohn a little, I think he could help him out because they seem to be similar kind of pitchers. But I think the pitching will hold out. And you got Chance Adams in the minors, and you got Justin Sheffield, and you got this guy Domingo German. So the pitching doesn't concern me too much because they'll still score a lot of runs. I mean, the lineup is solid.
Yeah, and I think Tanaka's got to have a better year than he did last year. He was 13-12 with a 4.74 ERA. He was great in the second half. I just would love to see him put together one great complete season.
Okay. Anybody else you have a comment about on the pitching staff, good, bad, or indifferent? Anything you want to
Dellin Betances, I'm curious to see where they're going to use him at the back end of the bullpen, 7th inning, 8th inning. I'm curious to see how Aaron Boone's going to use him.
Okay. We're coming down to the hard question that may not be able to be answered. Do you think getting rid of Girardi was a good deal, good move? Start with you, Jack.
Well, I thought he did a really good job, but I think, it was just time for a change. There was, maybe something was going on behind the scenes. They just weren't getting along. Maybe he wasn't communicating as well with the young players. We'll see how this Aaron Boone works out, but I think with Joe Girardi, it was just time to go. He did a good job. He was a good player, but I think it was just time to move on.
Okay. Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think there are a lot of problems behind the scenes. The Yankees are very analytical driven, and I think sometimes Girardi was at odds with that. A lot of times I think he felt differently, and I think with Aaron Boone, I think he will communicate better with the players and with the front office. And I agree with Jack. I think it was just time for a change, a new voice.
Okay, that's good. Were you happy with the Boone selection, notwithstanding Girardi being there or not being there? I'll start with you, Jack.
Well, he's unknown, and what I would have liked to have seen as a bench coach, I'd have liked to see him get Al Padrique, the AAA manager, because he worked with all those kids coming up through the minors, and I think that would have been a good addition. I believe he's with the A's now, and they got a very good baseball man.
Yeah, they did. In 2 years at AAA, he did wonders.
There's also a guy, and I'm trying to think of it. Is it Bam Bam Mullins, who's a bench coach with the Giants, who was in the running for the Yankee job? I understand.
Yeah, they mentioned him.
Yeah, he speaks like 4 or 5 different languages. Very well cultured guy. And in today's day and age, the way I look at it, if you're not multilingual, you have no business being a manager.
Forget it.
Right, exactly, because the bulk of the talent is coming in from overseas, and I thought Hensley Mullins would have been a terrific choice. Aaron Boone. Great Yankee hero. Do you think that's what got him the job, that home run?
It didn't hurt, but, he's also from a baseball family. His father, his brother, his father, grandfather, he knows his baseball, and it doesn't hurt to be a Yankee legend,
Okay. With that in mind, a Yankee legend who knows his baseball, you sorry that Don Mattingly didn't get a shot at it?
I am, because I'm such a huge Mattingly fan, and I feel sorry for him right now, having to coach the Marlins. I mean, they're just giving away everybody.
Right. What do you suppose? Is there some sort of Jeter in cahoots with anybody? That's been rumored.
I heard there's a clause in his contract where if the team turns a profit, he gets an increase in pay. And so I think he's working hard to try to turn that organization around to where it can make a profit.
Well, he only put out $25 million, I say only. But if they turn a profit, he gets $5 million for 5 years, so he'll make his money back. It's a real sad situation down there. I mean, Miami, it's just like an expansion team.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to watch.
And what makes it even sadder, this is like the 3rd time they've built themselves up and broken themselves down. It's very, very much like the A's do. They just churn and trade veterans for rookies and develop the rookies a little bit and trade them off again. It becomes very frustrating as a fan. There has to be a way that baseball can regulate this kind of thing where a team can just I'll tell you why. They're taking big league money from the fans for seats in years where they're showing them just minor league players, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work in Miami, and I think Jeter's going to have a hell of a time. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I don't think they should have Major League Baseball in Florida. I just don't think even the Rays. I don't think they can't make it down here. In Miami, it's like there's too many other things to do.
Okay, may I ask? You're living in Tampa Bay now?
No, well, I'm living in Tampa. I'm like 5 miles from the Yankee complex. I'm a diehard Yankee fan.
Okay, now is there ever a time when it's a hometown team now? Do you ever have mixed feelings, or you come in your Yankee gear and you're a Yankee fan?
Oh, I'm always a Yankee fan. I mean, that's you never turn your back on your team. That's like a sin. You just don't do that.
Good. Never been tempted?
No.
Never been so pissed at the team for one way or the other that you thought about playing out your option?
No, because I'll tell you a quick story. I used to know a lot of the Rays players, And before the season, I always said, good luck, guys, except when you play the Yankees. I hope you lose every game. And they got a good laugh out of it. So.
All right. Robert, I'll ask you the same question. Over the years, have you ever been fed up and tempted to play out your option as a fan?
No, never. I mean, and I can remember being a kid in the 80s when they were so close, but yet couldn't get there. Never wavered. Even when I watched that game of Andy Hawkins throwing a no-hitter and still losing.
Okay. Here's another question for you guys. I'll start with Jack. Best all-time Yankee manager?
I'm going to say Casey.
Okay.
Casey and then Miller Huggins.
World championships in a row. I mean, why would you say him?
Well, 5 championships in a row.
that was a little humor. He was a little before your time, both of your times actually, making me feel like the geese. But Robert, would Billy Martin be the answer to your question?
Yeah, I was going to say Billy Martin, then Joe Torre. My father's favorite manager was Ralph Zig.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, Billy and Joe.
Okay, Billy in that order for you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you another question. Hall of Fame. Who are you happy with? I mean, it was announced this week. The guy on the bubble was Martinez. He doesn't make it. He's probably going to make it next year. But it's a twofold question. Should DHs be allowed in the Hall of Fame? And individually, should Martinez be in?
When you hit like Edgar Martinez, you belong in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he was an incredible hitter. And I do think he'll get in there eventually.
And
I agree. He was exceptional.
Poppy will get in too then.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. So eventually the stigma of DHs, because it is a position, pretty much because of the era, they've been around for like 45 years now, you feel it'll be pretty much an automatic thing that if a DH he's got to be great to make up for not having the skills as a fielder. He really has to be a great hitter. More so than most, of course. And Martinez and Poppy both qualify under that circumstances.
Yeah.
Anybody that got elected, I'll start with you, Jack, that you feel that somebody else should have.
Let me maybe Trevor Hoffman. I'd like to see eventually, Bonds get in, Clemens, and I'd really like to see Pete Rose get in.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, those are actually 3 separate categories. Should PED users be let in?
Well, Bonds was a Hall of Famer obviously, before he went to the Giants.
Well, maybe not before he went to... Yeah, before he picked up a needle, he was a Hall of Famer.
He had 3 MVPs with the Pirates. But,
and you could probably say the same for Clemens. And if anybody out there says, well, they were what they were because of PEDs, please remember that Clemens was pitching to batters who were taking PEDs, and Bonds was hitting against pitchers who were taking PEDs. So I think maybe inadvertently the playing field was leveled. At least to a certain extent.
The one thing I didn't like about Major League Baseball when they did that anonymous drug testing, and there's 120 ball players that tested positive for PEDs, and the only name that got leaked out of those names was Alex Rodriguez. And I think Major League Baseball is behind it. I think Bug Selig wanted to put a name to PEDs, and Alex was his target. I think Alex, too, belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Well, I think after the strike, it's hypocritical for Major League Baseball to say they didn't know what was going on.
Oh, they had to have known.
There's no way they didn't know. And I'm sure to some extent it still goes on.
Yeah.
And then you could take the added thing of human growth hormones that there is no test for to this day. And you wonder about that. And not only is it going on, but the Player Association really helps the players avoid the detection of PEDs. And I don't think they're serving the players' total well-being, given the side effects of PEDs, the mood changes, what we don't know about it or what we do know about it through other athletes who took it. Lyle Alzado is an example. I don't think they're doing themselves any good. The money notwithstanding. You can buy an awful lot, but you can't buy health. And it's a societal thing, but that's just my opinion. And you're absolutely right about Bud Selig. He knew what was happening. Those home runs were deliberately designed to revamp the game after the strike, and they did. And he knew about it. The hypocrisy of him being in the Hall of Fame and Bonds and Clemens not being in the Hall of Fame is appalling.
Yeah.
And let alone he canceled the World Series. They played the World Series through World War II. And he could have done, and the really farce about the All-Star game, making it a meaningful event in not just an exhibition, because it was for home field advantage, and the idea that he got his daughter's team into the National League.
Oh, yeah.
You got to go, whoa, is this a Hall of Famer? I ask you. Hey, guys, this is a terrific first effort. Got to see opinions, got to see passion from you guys. I'm happy to have put this together. Jack Degraw, Robert Deininger, partners on New York Yankees, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm thrilled with the way it went. I hope you guys both had some fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, Ralph, and have a good night, Robert. I appreciate it.
You
Good.
too, Jack.
We'll be back next week. I want to remind the audience of my ongoing request. If you enjoy our offerings on this network, please box up some lightly used children's books and bring them to the Head Start program wherever you live. Kids need to read. They need to be school ready. They need to develop a passion, and they need to get their noses out of the devices and the computers and the games and what have you and read some books. And if you guys, listeners out there, would do that on a regular basis, it would make me happy. Thank you again, gentlemen. We will be back next week. It is New York Yankee Baseball, past, present, future, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Adios, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.